S&S Worldwide, formerly S&S Power, is a roller coaster and ride manufacturer based in Logan, Utah. The company made its debut in 1994 by a man named Stan Checketts. That's where the name comes from, Stan and his wife Sandy, S&S. They were originally known for their tower thrill rides, which are now located all across the world. They debuted their first roller coaster in 2001 with Hypersonic XLC at King's Dominion. They used that air compression launch technology with their towers and just rotate it 90 degrees, so now you're sending a roller coaster car down the launch track. Since then, they've built 41 roller coasters, 37 of which are still operating. And what I really love about this company is the diversity in their roller coaster portfolio. None of these coaster types are conventional by any means. They all have some aspect to them that is quirky and unique. So in this video, I'm going to be ranking my 10 favorites that I have experienced. Now, right off the bat, this is definitely a video that is going to need an update at some point, because unfortunately for me, some of their coolest rides that they've ever built are located in China, a place that I have not had the opportunity to visit yet. They're home to several huge air launch coasters as well as a massive ride called Dynaconda, which is a fourth dimension coaster, one of only technically two that S&S built. One day I hope to get on all of these, but out of the ones that I have experienced, here's how I rank them. Just barely making the list is Green Lantern down at Warner Brothers Movie World in Australia. This is the first of our El Loco models. What specifically allowed this one to make the cut is it is fitted with lap bars. Rides like Steel Hog at Indiana Beach or Mumbo Jumbo at Flamingo Land feature the same layout, but have those uncomfortable restraints that make the ride experience not as good as it could be. This way, riders feel a lot more free and open, but still features the crazy tight turns and wild transitions that make these rides fun. Think of it like an extreme Wild Mouse. In this case, Green Lantern is the third steepest roller coaster in the world, featuring a 120.5 degree drop. For reference, Mumbo Jumbo sends you down a 112 degree descent, so this is 8 degrees steeper. I found this ride to be a lot of fun, but it is not my favorite El Loco. That would be El Loco at the Adventure Dome. Yep, that's the name. The layout that you've been seeing up until this point is like the typical off-the-shelf model. For the Adventure Dome in Las Vegas, they had to get creative. So we have a completely custom layout here. Also, lap bar only restraints. Still got that crazy steep drop, some weird outer banks, but they just had to shift around the order of elements a bit. I also think that the indoor aspect just really adds to it. Nothing about this ride is conventional, but it's a lot of fun. At the number 8 spot, we have our only S&S 4D free spin to make this list. That is Dragon Slayer at Adventureland in Iowa. Now, S&S has built multiple 4D free spins all across the planet. I've actually had the opportunity to experience most of them. The best thing about these rides is they provide an unpredictable experience. You don't know how you're going to flip. That could also work against you though, because sometimes you might experience it where you don't really flip at all. But I've also experienced it where it just goes crazy. The reason why Dragon Slayer is on here is because this thing goes harder than any other free spin I've ever done. And it's like not even close. I'm not sure if there's more fins on this attraction or Adventureland has done something that just runs different, but this free spin is nuts. You see this footage of how much they're flipping? Yeah, it doesn't even look real, does it? And the wildest thing is this is actually one of the shorter models. The other ones, such as the original Batman the Ride at Six Flags Fiesta Texas, feature more elements. They're longer rides. But I think that can actually work against it. I think sometimes it can be a little too much. So I actually prefer the smaller versions, and something like Dragon Slayer is just crazy. Normally free spins aren't usually my thing, but this is one free spin that I want to do over and over again. As of my last visit to Adventureland, Dragon Slayer was my most ridden coaster of the day. At number 7, we have a really obscure wooden roller coaster in northern Denmark. This is Falcon at Farup Summerland. Now back in the day, S&S produced 4 wooden roller coasters. It's a product that they don't currently offer, and Falcon, in my opinion, is the best of them. For the most part, it's an out and back layout, and it is packed with airtime. The only thing that prevents this ride from being higher up on this list is because it is also not the smoothest. Specifically in the valleys, it can get rough, but the airtime hills are so good. Probably the best airtime in the park. It's also kind of fun because when I went to Farup Summerland, they were sending you around twice. There was only one train on the layout, so as soon as you hit the brakes, they just send you around again. It's a really punchy layout. The transitions though can be a bit janky, but anytime it does a straight airtime hill, it is so much fun. Just barely missing the top 5 is Galeforce at Playland's Castaway Cove. This is S&S's only LSM triple launch coaster. And really, it was the company's response to all these other manufacturers that have debuted their version of the compact thrill coaster. They said, we can fit in a back and forth swing launch and multiple thrilling elements, but not actually take you upside down. It certainly gets close though. Some of these maneuvers are super tight. It can be a bit disorienting. And like Falcon, what also makes this ride fun is that they'll send you around twice. After your initial build-up and you fly back into the station, you shoot back up towards that top hat. It's a really cool coaster. I'm honestly surprised there's not lot more of these because I can think of a lot of parks that would really benefit from a ride like this. Which brings us to our number 5 attraction, Powder Keg at Silver Dollar City. Now this really is a weird one because it started off its life as a Premier Rides water coaster. S&S then came in, redid the layout, left some of the Premier track, but threw in one of their classic air launches, a transfer track to start off the ride, a lift hill partway through the experience, and then it ends with a big drop and a final turn. The entire coaster travels out through the woods. It's a really unique, odd layout, but I think it's packed full of personality just because of its history. After Hypersonic closed for a while, this was America's only air launch coaster, which is really unique. Definitely not conventional by any means, but it's one you gotta do. Taking the number 4 spot is the largest coaster that S&S has ever built. It's Steel Curtain at Kennywood. This is a true hyper coaster, standing 220 feet in the air, flipping you upside down 8 times. That's the most inversions on any coaster in the US. It is a massive ride, so many different elements on this thing. It also has really great pacing. I'll tell you what though, it's definitely an odd looking ride. It almost feels like a modern take of what a hyper version of an El Loco would look like. And what's funny is, of all the big rides that S&S has produced, I'd say this is the one that you could argue is like most conventional, in the way that's just a traditional sit down inverting coaster. A lot of manufacturers have a similar model, but Steel Curtain as of right now is a one of a kind. So we'll have to wait and see if more parks put one in the future. Which brings us to our top 3. This is Max Force, the other, much newer, compressed air launch coaster in the US. This is the modern day equivalent of Hypersonic XLC at King's Dominion. That was the original prototype straight from the factory that they plopped down in that park. Unfortunately, it didn't last as long as they originally hoped, but now S&S has perfected that technology. Max Force has one of the punchiest launches you'll ever experience. It's a quick ride, but it is good. Somehow, this layout manages to pack in 5 inversions, including this crazy rollover in the middle of the layout that just throws you. I know it's become a very popular attraction at Six Flags Great America, and I hope that we see more within the Six Flags chain in the future. I can think of several parks that would really benefit from a ride like this. And sticking with the air compressed launch theme, at number 2, we have Doto at Fuji Q Highland. Now, I feel kind of bad putting this at the number 2 spot because it is currently standing but not operating. And as of right now, we do not know for sure what is happening with this attraction. There was unfortunately an incident on it that caused the park to close it down. It has not operated since the summer of 2021. I'm really hoping it comes back though, because there is nothing quite like experiencing the world's fastest acceleration. Doto launches you from 0 to 112 miles per hour in 1.6 seconds. That is absolutely insane. It feels like being shot out of a gun. I could not believe that launch. It's over before you know it, but you will never forget that 2-second experience. And as far as I'm concerned, this ride is all about the launch. Don't get me wrong, the rest of the layout is fun. I do think this overbank turn though is too big. You start to lose a little bit of speed partway through. I feel like it would definitely benefit from being tightened up. A while back, there used to be a top hat where this vertical loop is. I believe they had some issues though with it rolling back. And so to help prevent that, they installed a giant 160-foot tall loop. That's the version of this coaster that I got to experience. I still really enjoyed it, but man, just that launch alone was enough for this to place at the number 2 spot. But for my number 1 S&S coaster, let's just go down the midway. Sticking within Fuji Q Highland, we have Edan. Now, whenever this list gets an update and some of those Chinese coasters I put on here, I still don't think they'll be enough to dethrone Edan from being S&S's top coaster. As far as I'm concerned, this might be the best coaster on the planet. It is absolutely unbelievable. If you're familiar with X2 at Six Flags Magic Mountain, that was the final coaster that Aerodynamics produced. It was actually the nail in the coffin for that company. When they went bankrupt, S&S absorbed all of their assets, including their designs. They took the flawed prototype that was X2, refined it, and then came out with Edan in Japan. While X2 is great in concept, it can be rough, has a couple moments that are just kind of the actual rotations can be a little janky. Edan fixed all of that. You have smooth track, a smooth rotation, a more aggressive layout, and even more flips. To this day, I don't think I've ever laughed so much on a roller coaster than when I first rode this ride. Not to mention, it is just crazy intimidating. Almost 250 feet tall, almost 80 miles per hour. I love this ride so much, it is absolutely worth the trip out there to experience it. But that's just my take on the 10 best roller coasters that S&S Worldwide has produced. Now, you'll probably notice that there is one specific ride that I have excluded from this video, and that is the Axis prototype at the S&S factory. While yes, I count it as a credit, and yes, I've been on it multiple times, it is not a true amusement park. It is just a prototype. I am very, very excited for when they actually do produce a full Axis layout. I have no doubt that it'll place in my top 10 for favorite coasters by this company, but I did not feel right putting the prototype in this video. But if you want to hear my full thoughts on that prototype and that experience, there are multiple videos about it already on this channel. Definitely go check them out, because I think that concept is the future of S&S. Once one park puts one in, I think they're just gonna pop off. But let me know down in the comments below, what are your favorite roller coasters that they've produced? If you agree with the points that I brought up, if you think there's anything I missed, and of course stay tuned for more rankings here at Coaster Studios, and I'll see you next time.